Meanwhile, concerned Nigerians across sectors have begun reacting to the presidential directive on forex ban for food imports. In this next report, Adeshewa Odushoga finds out what they say could be the possible impacts of the ban.
For a country that has spent over 40 trillion naira on food importation in the past 2 decades, one would have expected a warmer reception to President Muhammadu Buhari's directive to restrict sales of forex to importers of food. But the reverse seems to be the case. While experts believe that the policy is right, they say it is coming at the wrong time.
Technically, if you ban the allocation of foreign currency for the importation of anything, including food items, that we can immediately substitute with local production, then that's great, because it means you create more employment, you keep your foreign currency, so your reserve is more, and that way you're able to defend your local currency in terms of the exchange rate against devaluation. All this is good on paper, but the reality is that if you make decisions that are not evidence-based, it doesn't matter how well intentioned they are, they're going to be counterproductive.
Most of the food items that we consume, we can't produce in Nigeria. And beyond us not being able to produce in Nigeria, we have, even if we can produce, we don't have the logistics infrastructure to effectively and in a cost-effective manner to transport those goods. Access to market is not good. We don't even have a food reserve as a country. So if you look at the global hunger index, Nigeria is not one of the top performers. So a lot of the indicators show that we are not ready.
Barely a month after the president agreed to sign the Africa Free Trade Agreement, this policy may be considered divergent, as it may hinder intra-Africa deals, which is arguably low compared to other continents.
Globally, amongst all the regions globally, intra-Africa trade at about 16–17% is the lowest. And being the lowest, the goal of African economies is to trade more with each other and make sure that we are able to improve our share of global trade. So if with this policy, if it is now more expensive for Nigerians to buy what they really need, because we really need it. If we can't produce it locally and we don't have the infrastructure to do it, the message is not clear.
After it exceeded inflation since the last 42 months, with this directive, there are fears that the investors may seek alternatives from parallel markets, which is rather expensive, giving rise to food inflation.
If we cannot immediately replace the $6 billion importation of food items with local production, we are going to immediately raise up the price of food items. That will lead to food inflation. Now, bear in mind also that food items, unless strictly and narrowly defined, means also that some items that you import that form raw materials and semi-products into production of other products would also be affected.
One immediate impact for investors is as a business, what you see is you can't really determine the source of the dollar that you are buying in the parallel market. And if that is the case, if there are certain types of foreign investors that you interact with as a business, and they will not want any exposure to anything that is not legitimate.
As much as the agricultural sector is a major employer of labor, it has suffered many years of neglect with dependence on oil. But since assuming office in 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari has taken giant steps to diversify the economy by restricting foreign sales for the importation of food items like rice and other consumables. Adeshewa Odushoga, TV 360, Lagos.